Okay, everybody. So we have talked about writing the equation of a quadratic when you are given, guys, are you listening? Are we listening?
Yes.
Now, listen, I really do need this particular topic. It's not difficult once you get the hang of it, but if you are not paying attention, you're going to be very lost and you'll have no idea what's going on. So please give me your full attention. Let's get through at least an example or two, and then I can have you guys do some practicing, okay? So we are, let me get this lined up here. It'll say. I'll say. Okay, so we are, I will give you a practice sheet in a minute, but. Oh, for Pete's sake. Writing equations of quadratics. Yes, I don't have a sheet for you. Given 3 random points.
Today's September 8th.
What?
December 8th.
Yes, it's my parents' wedding anniversary.
Go, September 3rd.
You said me neither.
Yeah, I don't either. Maybe I should have put that.
My parents were married in 2000.
Oh, that's an easy year to remember.
Yep, so they've been married for 21 years. Almost to 22.
Wow.
I don't care.
Okay, everybody. So we have already talked about writing the equation of a quadratic. If you know the vertex, guys, are you listening? If you know the vertex plus one other point, or if you know the intercept plus one other point. Okay, so that is what we have covered over the last 2 days. Writing quadratics given a vertex and a point or the intercepts and a point. What happens if you have 3 random points and they are not the x-intercepts or the vertex? They're just 3 random points along the parabola. Well, we can write the equation of that quadratic, but it's going to require us solving a 3-variable system. So I hope you remember how, but if you have forgotten, I will help you. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 points to start off with. All right, so, and then I'll walk you through with the example as I give you some steps, okay? So find the equation of the parabola through. The first point is at 11, -7. The second point is going to be at 10, 0. And the third point will be at 5, 5. Okay, now it is true that this one just so happens to be one x-intercept, but I don't know what the other one is, so I can't really do very much with it. So, and I don't know if any of these are a vertex. I don't really know anything. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to take the standard form of a quadratic. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And we are basically going to take each of our 3 points and write an equation plugging in that x and y. And then I'll just have to solve that 3-variable system. Okay, so let me explain what I mean. So let's see if I can squeeze, I'll put steps maybe over here. Step 1. y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Make 3 new equations. One for each of your 3 points, one for each point. So always remember that you have the x first and then a y. So all I'm doing is I'm taking this equation right here and I'm going to replace x and y. I'm going to leave the a, b, and c in there because I don't know what a, b, and c are. But I have an x and a y for the first point. So watch what this looks like. Instead of writing this, I'm going to write -7 equals a times x is 11. So I have to do 11 squared plus b times x, which is 11, plus c. I'm going to clean that up. So I'll actually like square the 11 and like write it nice. So it's going to look like this. -7 equals 121a plus 11b plus c. I should have left myself a little bit more space. So I'm going to do that because I have magical paper. So what was my next point? Was that 10, 0? And my third one was 5. Okay, and so is everybody okay so far? All right, now I do the same exact thing for my second equation, or my second point and my third. Okay, so I'll do the exact same. So this one would be 0 equals a times x is now 10. And then just clean it up. And then repeat the process for your third. Okay, everybody's with me and you have the same 3 new equations as I do? And now, if you remember how to solve a system in 3 variables, great, because that's all I'm going to do. If you don't, I'm going to walk you through it. So step 2, we are going to solve the 3 variable system. It's easiest to do this by elimination. So if you remember to solve for elimination, just think of a 2 variable system. You want to get a pair of opposites. So for example, I have a positive 121a. I'd love if there was a negative 121a somewhere. There isn't, but if there was an easy way for me to get that, I could multiply. But we do always get lucky because c is always by itself. So even though the c's aren't opposite of each other, I could just multiply, say, my second equation by -1, and then the c's would cancel. Do you see that? I'd have a positive c and a negative c. My goal is to eliminate a variable, hence the name elimination. So to do that, solve the 3 variable system. Look for a pair of opposites. So right now, we don't have any that are right now opposite of each other. like a positive C and a negative C. So I'm gonna have to multiply by something to make there be an opposite. Okay? So if you don't have one, if needed, multiply an equation by an integer to get opposites. Sometimes it can get a little confusing because you have a lot of equations sort of floating around. So what you might want to do is, I'm trying to think of what makes more sense. I mean, you could number them equation 1, 2, 3. Just make sure you don't think that 1, 2, and 3 are like part of the equation. You could, I usually in 2 variables, I give them a star, but now you have 3. I don't know. You do whatever. I mean, you don't have to do anything, but I'm going to just so I can talk about them more easily. So this is my first equation. This is my second equation, and this one's my third. It's also kind of helpful for you to like remind yourself what you're doing. So I'm going to take just my first 2 equations and I'll take the second equation and I'll multiply by -1. And then that should cancel out my C's, right? So here's what I might do. I might just note this to myself. I'm going to take equation 1 and then equation 2 times -1. And I'm going to write them right on top of each other like this. So equation 1 was just this. -7 equals 121a plus 11b plus c. And then 2, if I multiply all of it by -1, right? If you're going to multiply by -1, everybody gets multiplied by -1. So again, 0 equals -100a minus 10b minus c. Now I can add these 2 equations together and the c's are going to cancel each other out. So that will be step 3. If you did it correctly, one of the variables should be eliminated in this step. If you didn't do it correctly, then stop and go back. So I'm literally just going to add them together. Oh, yeah. We're going to star this equation. So I'm literally going to draw a star next to this one. So because I need to come back to this equation, but I need to leave it alone for a minute. So when I go and when I need it again, I need to be able to find it in this mess of numbers and variables and craziness. If you have a highlighter, you could highlight that question or that new equation, whatever you like. Anywho, I like a star. So I have eliminated one variable. So here's the thing that you have to do now. You have to use the original equation that you haven't touched yet. So I haven't even used equation number 3 yet. So I have to use that one, and I have to eliminate the same variable that I eliminated right here. Now, I can eliminate variable C with either equation 1 or 2. It doesn't matter. I can reuse another one, but I haven't used equation 3 yet, so I have to. So there's going to be step 4. Step 4. use the third equation that you haven't used yet. And eliminate the same variable. Okay, if you're gonna make a mistake, it might be right there. A lot of times kids forget to eliminate the same exact variable. So luckily for me, I just have a positive C on the end again, so I'll just take that third equation. And then you want to do a -1 times the second one again? Why not? So I'm going to do the second one times the -1. So that's going to be 0, -100A minus 10B minus C. And now, as you can imagine, I'm going to add these two equations together. 5. So I have another new equation. I'm going to put another star next to this one. Every time I eliminate a variable, I'm starring those equations, because now it's so easy for me to now just say, okay, your two equations that you starred, now just solve that system like you normally would. Now it's just a 2-variable system. Do you see that? You've taken it from 3 crazy variables down to 2, and you've solved 2-variable systems since, I don't even know. I was gonna say 1998, but you weren't even born yet, were you?
Told me my parents were married in 2000.
Doesn't mean anything, does it? You could be born before your parents are married.
And I was 16.
Well, I know. Okay. Everybody remembers how to solve a 2-variable system? I assume. I'll refresh your memory.
Elimination.
Yes, you're doing elimination again. So I'm still looking for a pair of opposites. The easiest one would be B, right?
Yeah.
Just multiply that first start equation by a +5, and then those B's will cancel. Okay, I'm gonna be out of room, so I'm gonna have to flip my paper.
What's step 6 though?
Well, it's gonna go on the next page, but does everybody have what they need from this page? Make sure that you have it before I flip. So step 6 coming in hot on the next page. Oh. Continue. Don't worry, it goes a lot faster once you get the hang of it. Trust me. So we are going to now take those 2 start equations, solve that system. Ah, I gotta clean the paper off.
So that was step 6. Start with-
Yes. Okay, so my first star was negative, say it again, I'm sorry.
-7 equals 21.
U. And then, you know what, I'm gonna call them first star and second star. And the second one's what? What was this? -5?
The first one's just 5.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay, so there's our two starred equations. Now I just have to solve this one. And yeah, it looks like you guys said, or I said and you agreed, take that top one and just times it by 5. Remember, everything gets multiplied by 5. So I'll do my first star times 5. And that's going to get me a -35. What's that, 105A plus 5B? And then just my second one as it is. Now I have this equation or this system, I can solve it. The B's are going to cancel out. What's that, a +30? And B's are gone. So it looks like now I can just solve for A, right? I'm right there. A, ooh, I don't have 1, I have -1. Hooray, we found our first of 3. All right, so solve the system. Exactly. Now that you have one variable, you can go back to one of your start equations, find a second variable. And once you have 2, you can go back to one of the originals and find the third. Exactly. Okay, so step 6, solve the system made by the 2 start equations. You should now have a value for one variable. Step 7. Plug into a starred equation to get a second variable. So let's do that before we do step 8. It doesn't matter which of the starred ones you choose. I'll pick the top one because it looks easier. So everybody get that B was 14? Yeah, are you with me so far? Yes, okay. Because here's the other thing that's like so infuriating about these. Each problem takes a long time, right? You make one mistake, it's such a night, like you don't even know until the end. Oh, hold that thought. We'll go ahead and take, now that you have 2 variables, go back and find the third. That's it, Sabia. Okay, thank you. Bye. Brian, don't forget to sign out on your way out. Okay. So step 8, now that we have 2 values, I know A and B, I just need to go back and find C. So you have two values now. Go back to an original to find the third. And again, it doesn't matter what original, just pick the easiest one. Whichever one looks like it has the smallest numbers. I picked the third one, right? That one's not bad. The third original equation was just 5 equals 25A plus 5B.
Are you gonna get the same value no matter what?
Yep. right? That was my third one. Make sure you copy it right. Because again, one little mistake and now it's a nightmare. But now I know what A and B are, so I can plug those in. 25 times -1 plus 5, B is a 14. So I can now just solve for C. What's that, 70? 50 and 20? Did you guys get -40?
Yes.
All right. So your very last step. And now you just have to put all this together. So now that you know what A, B, and C are, you just plug them into the standard form for a quadratic. Okay? Holy Toledo, step 9. Take A, B, and C. Plug into y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. All right, so if I put it all together for us here, we're gonna have y equals, a was a -1, so I'll have -x squared plus 14x minus 40. Da-da-da. After doing all of that work, you're almost scared to check it, right? Because if it doesn't work, it's like, are you kidding me?
I know that's.
But well, here's one thing that I will let you in on, this little tiny secret, and I don't know if this is true on the. I can tell you that for today, is that far enough? Or do you know? For all the problems that we're gonna do today, A, B, and C are going to come out as integers.
Oh, thank God.
So if you get a fraction today, I mean, in real life, of course, it could be a fraction or decimal, or it could just get real crazy. But I'm gonna tell you right now that they should all come out nice. So if something's not coming out nice, there's an error somewhere. But you should, even if they came out nice, we still should check our answer. How? Take any one of the 3 original points, plug it in, and it should work. So we had one that had a 0 in it, so that shouldn't be too hard. If I plug in 10 comma 0, because if I plug in 10 for x, I'm expecting to get out a 0 for y. Let me check real quick. -100 plus 140 is 40. 40 minus 40 is 0. How about that? How about that? Well, you need to, while it's fresh, let's do one more, because now we can go through it fast.
One more.
I actually can't just say that.
Oh my
I
God.
counted it down with you.
Oh, God, no.
Well, you're gonna have
Slice of
to,
paper.
see. Did everybody have everything they needed from that sheet before I flipped away? I'm sorry. I'll put it back up if you need it. So let me give you a new one. 3 new points.
Yeah.
Let's walk ourselves through this one. If you feel like you know what you're doing, okay, go for it. If you want to walk through it with me, that's fine too. So same thing. Our first point is going to be at 9 comma 32. The second point is at 417. And the third point, gosh, these are big numbers, but you know what? That's exactly right. 253. We got calculators too. And your brain is the best calculator there is.
53. Oh my God. The paper wasn't in frame, Brandon.
Okay, 9, and I'm gonna double check that I didn't mess, because again, if you mess up copying 1 point, oh, you get real mad at yourself. So first, again, we're going to take these values and we're going to write 3 new equations using just our y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Right, so we'll take y 32 a times 9 squared plus b times 9 plus c. Clean it up a little bit. All right, so I have my first equation. I do the same thing with the second and the third. And my second new equation and the third. Does anybody remember doing this?
Yes.
Oh, good. So your old pros. So check real quick that yours match mine, your three equations, and then just find those pair of opposites. Again, since C is always by itself, it's just so easy to work with that. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'll do my first equation and then my second times a negative 4. Take your time with these because you want to make sure that things don't get too crazy. Oh, can I point out a little fun thing that you can do if you want that might make your life a little bit easier? You don't have to do this. If you recognize, like, here's my first start equation. They're all, I could divide everybody by 5. So if you want to do that to make your numbers a little bit smaller, you can certainly do that. So that's just an option. You don't have to. I'm going to just to help myself out. So can divide by 5 to simplify. So now my start equation will just be, what's that, 13? So I can use 3 equals 13a plus b instead of the 15 equals 65a plus 5b. Okay, because it's the same equation, right? I just divided both sides by 5, so that's totally allowed. Just gets my numbers smaller, makes life a little bit easier. Again, if you don't do it, it's not a big deal. Your numbers are just gonna be a little bit bigger. Who cares? All right, and now I'll just find my second start equation. By taking that third one, I have to use the third one because I haven't used it yet. And I'll do. You can multiply both equations by something if you need to. If you kind of keep track of, like, over on the side, how I do it, I say what equation and what I've done to that equation. It just helps you kind of figure out, keep track of what in the world you're doing, because there's so much going on with these. It's easy to get lost. So here, this was my second equation. I can divide everybody by 2 if I want to, and just sort of simplify it that way. I think I will do that. So if I divide everybody by 2, and then I get lucky, my 2 start equations already have a pair of opposites. The B's are already set up to cancel. Yes. Again, if it's not coming out as an integer today, that's an issue. Could it happen in real life? Of course it could. But I'm telling you right now that all the ones that we're doing on the homework should all be nice numbers. I got A is 3. Hooray. once I have one, I can very easily just sort of work my way back and find the others. So I'll take this first equation. Oh, see? See, I almost messed up right there. One little mistake. Should be a negative 60, right? Minus 72 would be negative.
I got it. Hey, that's what I thought. Can we start our walk now? Yeah, you said we can go after we did this.
You did say that.
You did. Here's what
I didn't say anything.
And I got it right.
Well, hold on. How did we do, everybody? Did you
A+.
get the same three? So
I totally did, and I checked my work.
A should have been 3.
Yes, I did. You won't see right
B
here.
is gonna end up being a negative 36. And then C is a positive
I wrote
113.
you an inspirational message on the board. You erased it. You erased it.
Okay, did you guys get this one? Yeah, are we feeling all right?
So funny.
Okay, so I'm going to give you your homework now. Now, the problems that we did, the 2 that we just did, were from there. So you don't have to redo them. Are you listening?
Yes.
You're gonna end up redoing them because you're not paying attention. I'm trying to save you some time here.
I don't like shortcuts. I like the original way to do it.
We're doing homework.
Oh.
I was telling you that I did the first 2 on the homework are the ones that we just did. So you don't have to do them over again.
Let's go.
I tell you. Okay, so let me stop the films here and give this out to you.
How many problems?
Oh, I don't know. How many should we do?
Yeah, these take like an hour. Oh wait, I thought Fred was asking how many total problems there were on the page. So I thought there were 6.